being able to contribute and build is by far more interesting than joining something that's already been established. One of the exciting things about the advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, this cluster that's being groomed and grown here in this region, is that it's just starting. The excitement of the new ideas and the ways in which to do business is happening every day here in the Richmond-Petersburg region.
During the pandemic, members of our coalition in the Greater Richmond and Petersburg market recognized that there was a critical shortage of essential medicines in the U.S. and the need to reshore the making of those medicines. And that is a key factor in what we are working on here in our market.
It's an exciting time in this region because we have all of these companies that are touching different parts of the pharmaceutical ecosystem. And then we've created a coalition that's creating a workforce and attracting other companies to the region. So we're really working together to build up the pharmaceutical sector in this part of the state.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to have this coalition of groups, whether they're economic development groups, service organizations, community colleges, and other universities, as well as other public and private companies coming together through a common cause to try to work in solving this critical national public health security issue.
Those collaborations have been able to create what we call the Alliance for Building Better Medicine.
There's a great desire to actually build this industry here in Virginia.
Virginia is rich for business, and this is an incredible opportunity to expand on an industry like pharmaceuticals. What's happening in Petersburg is one of the most exciting things I think happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Over $500 million in federal grants have been applied to that area, close to $1 billion when you factor in private investment, public investment, federal and state investment.
You want to be part of a remarkable team and be part of a whole change of a culture of a region. This is the place to be.
It takes a village. There are so many people involved, and the reshoring of activities, it cuts across sectors and organizations and components of our economy that you wouldn't even think of.
I want to bring the collaboration at the community, the grassroots level. And I think that we have to operate at both levels and even in between to bring that and build that awareness of the opportunities for this region.
The Alliance has really shown me what is possible when education, training, economic and workforce development, localities and business and industry with vision come together.
The way that we prepare a workforce pipeline for biotechnology and pharmaceutical manufacturing in the region is we offer training programs that are sector-led. And by sector-led, that means that we've met with employers and we continue to meet with employers, and they tell us the competencies they need in their employees. And then we build academic programs that develop those competencies for the future workforce.
It connects academic institutions with the companies that put themselves here physically, and this is the cluster.
We have the structure and facilities in place that allow our researchers to develop manufacturing insights that allow us to breathe new life into new and existing manufacturing processes.
All of the work that we're doing here in Central Virginia, it's having an impact on the country as a whole and also internationally with regards to other areas of the world.
Any company that's looking to expand in the life sciences industry would want to consider Virginia as their home. I think that Virginia has a unique opportunity to make a global impact in the life sciences region, and the collaborative suite of companies that are here are already doing that work, and more that join us, we can only make that impact a little bit greater.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the Alliance for Building Better Medicine Supply Chain Webinar and Information Series. The series will explore and inform the audience about the growing advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing and biotech ecosystem developing in the Richmond-Petersburg, Virginia region. My name is Vanessa Womack, and I am the Inclusive Community Development Consultant for the Alliance. This webinar will explore the Region 4 footprint through the economic development organization's lens that support the Alliance's efforts to reshore the production of affordable medicines in the United States. Our guests represent regional economic development organizations. We have with us Jose Romano, Executive Vice President, Business Development at the Greater Richmond Partnership, and Tom Scott, Managing Director, Business Investments for Virginia's Gateway region. Welcome, Jose and Tom. Let's get started. I want to begin with a fundamental question. What is the role of an EDO? And describe your job functions to carry out the mission of your respective organizations. And I'm going to start with Tom.
Well, thank you for this question. So economic development is a partnership really between communities and a region and perhaps even a state to bring about economic prosperity. So we help to create new jobs, to bring in new investment, to help communities to be able to prosper and to be able to grow their ecosystems and to thrive.
So please, Jose, please add some response from your organization's perspective.
Absolutely. I think Tom said it well. As an economic development organization, we are tasked with the mission of promoting a community, promoting a region, a state, even on a national level too. But on top of that, I think that we also serve as a liaison to the business community, right? And the focus and mission of creating jobs, quality jobs for the residents of our region in the Greater Richmond region is an important component to our mission, providing those quality jobs. But those jobs would not be there if it wasn't for the corporate end user, if you will. And so those companies that are looking to invest, whether it's expanding an existing footprint or attracting new investment, that's what we're here to serve from a confidential perspective. And so so much of this information is so highly restricted in many different ways and should not be from public's eyes until the end. But we help kind of provide that site selection process, right? Everything from the initial kind of search of properties and industrial sites to assisting throughout the navigation of that process with, working with state and local partners, working through the incentive process as well, all in the hopes of getting to announce a new investment that will be, a success for any region.
Well, thank you so much. And you have already ventured into my next question with the array of services. That's fine. You started the ball rolling here. So for EDOs, and you've already suggested some of the array of services that you provide for companies that are interested in locating in our area, and you described some of those services. So since you started, Jose, I'm going to turn it over to Tom. What do you want to add to that from your organization's perspective?
And I come from the private sector, so I was doing site selection and negotiating incentives for large financial services, and now I'm on the other side of the table, if you will, and so I can see the value of what economic development organizations do in really helping to connect the dots. I think for a lot of companies, they don't realize just what economic development organizations can do, and that is we are really responsible for helping to bring about new partnerships so that a company can come into an area, they can do their site selection along with the EDO. They can have incentives proposals provided to them through the EDO. And also one of the essential services I think that we have is workforce, working with workforce partners. We travel as economic development organizations all over to various shows and events and talk to companies, and their number one issue always seems to be workforce. And so that's a very invaluable service that we provide, is helping to connect with the right partners to bring about a workforce solution to a company that's looking to expand.
Now, since we've been talking about the Alliance for Building Better Medicine, and we're talking about advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing and the biotech ecosystem developing in Region 4, could you mention any recent statistics or trends or plans to help the Alliance to be successful? Let's start with Jose.
Sure, happy to. And so I failed to mention, I think, that as a regional group for the Greater Richmond Partnership, we serve a number of communities. And so we serve the city of Richmond along with 3 counties, Hanover, Henrico, and Chesterfield County. And so working with that partnership, and building this kind of ecosystem that's already kind of in existence. We work in collaboration to really support that growth. And so what we know, right, is about 80% of the drugs that are manufactured or that we take every day in the U.S. are manufactured outside of the U.S. And so it's so vital that we actually reshore those operations back to the U.S. For many reasons that we've learned over the past few years. And so we're so fortunate within the Richmond region that we have this burgeoning life sciences ecosystem really kind of focused on the supply chain efforts that eventually gets to that advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing operations. And it starts with companies like Haleon in the city of Richmond that's focused on their research and development of everyday consumer drugs, to Thermo Fisher PPD that's in Henrico County that focuses on providing that testing and laboratory facilities. You have Anton Par in Hanover County, which is an Austrian-based company that selected the town of Ashland in Hanover County to identify it as its U.S. headquarters that's providing and producing the instruments and measurement systems for these testing facilities, all leading up to a facility like Civica in Chesterfield County. That their partnership with Medicines for All from the VCU and Brightpoint Community Colleges and their programming of advanced pharmaceutical engineers is really going to help support the cluster development of the manufacturing process.
I love the way you just bring those names in naturally, because
Always.
this just fits right into our webinar information series. So as people are watching these series, they'll see the connections from webinar to webinar, and they'll say, yes,
absolutely.
I see how this is all connected, and it starts with the EDOs, right, Tom?
It does.
So let's go on to the next question. As we and you have shared how your organizations encourage outside companies to expand here, what does that process look like? You said you've done some site selections or site locations. Tell us a little bit about that process, Tom.
Yeah, and I really think that it really starts with working with our localities. So Jose has spoken about the Greater Richmond Partnership. I'm part of Virginia's Gateway region, where we represent 7 communities, including Petersburg, Hopewell, Colonial Heights, and then 4 counties, Dinwiddie, Prince George, Sussex, and Surrey. And we find that down in our region, very much of a manufacturing. We make things and we move things, is what we'd like to say. There. But it really does start with working with our localities to ensure that there's an openness to receiving and welcoming new companies, because companies are looking for a place to go where they feel as if there's an open door, that the community is receptive. And so we'll start there. And then, of course, when it comes to site readiness, as far as preparing the infrastructure, right now in Petersburg, one of the component projects up under the Build Back Better grant is water and wastewater, and improving that, because it's a historically distressed community. And so they were in desperate need of an increase in their water capacity and their wastewater capacity. So we're very excited to be able to see these projects coming into place, to get sites ready and prepared. Thanks to the state, there's been some state-level funding that has come in to get sites prepared. And so, when you talk about site selection, you have to have all the advance work done before we can go out and start to talk to companies, whether that be here in the United States or overseas, to try to attract them to this community, into our communities, so that they see the value and the benefits of locating here.
You mentioned you do trips, or you go to other communities to talk to other companies, and you just had a real nice trip to Italy. If you can just share a little bit about that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jose, because he goes to a lot of life science and pharmaceutical conferences and conventions. So tell us about Milan.
Yeah, so there's an organization called CPHI, and they have multiple events, but the one in Europe each year seems to be the largest from what I can tell. And so there were over 60,000 people, 2,400 exhibitors that were there. And we met with multiple companies from all over the world, and it was just a very exciting opportunity. But the needs are the same. Wherever we go, the needs seem to be the same. Some are at a place of where they're looking at their location strategy and considering a U.S. expansion. Others are just trying to fill their file full of information. And so we met with those who are suppliers, API manufacturers, all the way to packagers. And so it was a very wide range of companies in Milan that we met with. But to be honest, we did a lot of walking from booth to booth, but it was well worth it at the end of the day to be able to tell the story of what's going on here within our pharmaceutical cluster.
Very good. Jose?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Tom. I mean, we've been to many of these kind of large exhibition shows, and by the end of day one, honestly, but ultimately by the end of the entire conference, those dogs are barking, aren't they? But I will say that the purpose of these kind of mission trips and being involved in a lot of different conferences and trade shows, excuse me, really goes back to the fundamental of what is an EDO. And so for us at Greater Richmond Partnership, we really excel in three main areas. That's lead generation. So we're creating those quality leads of different companies that are looking to invest somewhere. And we work in collaboration with our state and local partners. Secondly, we are actually going into market. So whatever market, we're showcasing the assets of our region. We're telling the story about what it means to be in the Richmond region. I speak personally, my story is that I'm not from Richmond. Actually, I've only been here for about a year. But when I came for an actual conference about 6 years ago or so, I saw what Richmond was all about. And I said, this is a community that is going to blossom and flourish. And here I am now, 6 years later. And then ultimately, we are this treasure trove of wealth of knowledge, right? So a corporate executive is not going to make a decision just on a whim, for the most part. But they want that data, they want those facts to know that, if they do invest somewhere, that they will be supported and it will be the best decision that they can make. And so when we're out on the road, whether it's a trade show, a conference, or we're going out on a marketing mission, that's what we're doing. We're sharing the story about what it is to be in a region like ours, whether that's industry specific or industry agnostic.
Okay, and moving on to that next segment, hosting familiarization tours or FAM tours. Here, you go out there, but you also bring site selectors or potential business who might be interested in moving here. You bring them here to visit us. What is that? How does that work? And I'm going to combine all three questions. What is that process like? And what is, can you share some of the feedback from some of those participants from the FAM tours?
Yeah, I mean, so it's an opportunity really to come and see. And I'll go right to the feedback, and that is when we bring in site selection consultants into the area, they'll even say, we had no idea. And so, that makes us very happy to realize that, really the Richmond-Petersburg area is halfway between Rockville and Raleigh. But we offer a great deal here, and when we invite consultants and companies to come and tour the area, they walk away with a very strong sense of this is very exciting, and they have the structure that's there. So it's a very long process in planning the logistics of this, but again, very rewarding to be able to drive around in a bus and to tour various companies, to be able to look at sites. Even at one point, we took them up in a helicopter so that they could get a full view of the region. And so, these FAM tours are an opportunity for partners here in the area, in the region, to be able to interact with consultants and with companies to be able to tell the story of what's happening here.
And I know you're quite involved in that, correct, Jose?
Absolutely. In fact, we are hosting a FAM tour this week. So I'm surprised that I'm actually here. I had the time to do this. But no, it's so important. And to all the points that Tom had mentioned, you really don't, well, we have heard the feedback is, you really don't know until you're there, until you see it for your own eyes. And so from a logistical standpoint and perspective, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's the return on the investment is there. It's evident. We start becoming more popular. We start becoming on the short list more and more. And so we hear back from company executives as to, wow, I never gave your region a thought, but now it's definitely on my radar. And so from that side, it's extremely important. But also, it's great to really understand the landscape of the region, but it's also focused on building relationships, right? Because at the end of the day, we want our guests and our audience to know that they can pick up the phone and call us with any questions that they may have. And so we build those, we cultivate new relationships, we build upon existing ones that we may already have, and then we do that too by showcasing the region, not just again from a logistical standpoint and kind of the meat of the bones, if you will, but also let's offer some unique experiences. And so what we've done is, Richmond is actually home to the only Class 4 urban setted river rapids with the St. James. And so we have now incorporated river rafting as part of like our fun, end of the trip for a fam tour. So those are the unique experiences that really leave a lasting impression in a site selector's mind. And we hope that, we can continue to work on that and just showcase both of our regions for all the greatness it has.
All right. Well, I want to jump ahead just a little bit because I'd like to know your predictions of what you like to see in the future. Over the next 10 years, what types or industries or have you seen that might really augment our region over the next 10 years?
For me, as I mentioned before, the Richmond region is so diverse, it's very fortunate. But there are particular industries that we really excel at and have a strong location quotient to that: corporate services, manufacturing, food and bev manufacturing. And a lot of those actually kind of feed into or are very transferable into the life sciences ecosystem and advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing component. So we would obviously love to see that industry grow itself, but there are two letters that I think everybody always has on the top of their mind, and that's AI, right? Good old artificial intelligence. And I think that this is it's something that people may be scared of, but we have to learn to embrace. And we have to utilize that technology and innovation to really assist in the growth and the diversification of our portfolios, and utilizing those tools to continue to move in that direction.
Okay, Tom, would you like to add? And as you're adding, we're going to start wrapping up. So would you like to add to that answer? How would you like to see new industries? And I'm glad you mentioned AI because I think that's significant for us to pay attention to. So Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, and I think anything to help to meet the need of the pharmaceutical cluster that's in Petersburg. So more definitely manufacturing, API manufacturers we're talking to all over the world, but also the supply chain. I mean, whether that's cold storage would be huge, not only just in this industry, but I think across the board. This is a big need that we have. Anything to do with packaging or, finalizing, if it's something that initially they want to manufacture in Europe, but they want to do kind of the final piece of that here in the United States. We're certainly open to that type of thing. So I think really the industry is really expanding here in the United States, but especially we want to draw anything within that supply chain with API manufacturing.
Okay. Final thoughts, starting with Jose. Final thoughts.
I never have a final thought. They continue. They keep me up at night. But I would just say, again, thank you to you for allowing us to be here, kind of share a little bit about our individual regions, but ultimately how we partner together and work and collaborate. Thank you to Activation Capital, the Alliance for Building Better Medicine. Ultimately, we're here trying to really identify, and place our regions on the map. And we're always open. So if you'd like, I'll plug in, www.grpva.com. That's Greater Richmond Partnership's website. Feel free to see us there and find this treasure trove of information and data, but also find all the services that we provide.
Okay, very good. You want to bring us home, Tom?
Yeah, and I think there's a reason why there's been over $1 billion of investment that's come here to the region over the last 5 years. And so I would invite any company or consultant to come and see what it's about. The federal government has made a massive investment in manufacturing of critical medicines, and the state has certainly contributed a lot to site readiness, and we see even at the local level. So come and see the exciting things that are going on within the ecosystem, because this is the place where it's going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to be a hub for this industry.
This concludes the interview. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for other critical topics in this series.
We are now actually live, and Tom and Jose are ready to answer questions. We have already at least 2 questions in the chat. So I think one has already been answered. The question was, events were mentioned. What events or media outlets can we tune in for more information as things develop? Tom has mentioned the Alliance for Building Better Medicine website and the 2 EDO LinkedIn pages. I also put in the chat all of those websites for the Alliance, even for Activation Capital, and for the 2 EDOs. We also have with us Paul Spicer, who's with Etri Communications, and Paul can also lend some information or give you some information about where to find more information. Paul, can you do that for us, please? Okay, I hope Paul can unmute and do that. However, we do have another response to that, and that is from Miriam, who has a question too. The growing APM industry is such an interesting part of the Richmond-Petersburg area. What other things would you highlight about your regions? And what else makes Richmond and Petersburg stand out from other places you have been? So Jose or Tom, could you please unmute and give us some feedback?
Sure.
That was the question from Miriam.
Can you repeat the question one more time, Vanessa? Sorry.
Yes, I can. The growing APM industry is such an interesting part of the Richmond-Petersburg region. What other things would you highlight about your regions? That's one question. What else makes Richmond and Petersburg stand out from other places you have been?
Sure. Well, thank you again. It's great to be with you again, and fantastic job on the video. And so looking forward to answering some of these, great questions. But for us in the Greater Richmond region, we are such an incredible, diverse economy. I think I had mentioned, in one of the questions before, but, we really excel in various different industries, whether it's from hosting or being home to, 12 Fortune 1,000 headquartered companies here to a very large and significant advanced manufacturing landscape. And so we see additional industries that are growing in size as industry really kind of dictates. And so we see that the APM industry is really one of those that really kind of falls in line with industry moving forward. So, but overall, just from industry, I mean, the region itself is a great place to live, work, and play. And so, what we see as a more robust talent pipeline that's developing. That's happening from just educational pipeline coming in, but also from external residents moving from out of state into the region itself. And so we see a significant influx of a growing population here within the Richmond region. So I think that's all attributed to really having a fantastic location to live, work, and play.
And I just I would just add, the strength of our partnerships as well. When I think about the uniqueness of the Alliance for Building Better Medicine, the fact that there are 16 partners that are involved with that, really coming together and helping to kind of play off one another's strengths and really looking at it, from a mega region perspective, I think is pretty unique from what I've been hearing from around the country and in some of my global meetings as well. But when you talk to the existing companies, and certainly we do here with our three main manufacturing companies here in the Petersburg region, and Jose had mentioned as far as location, along the I-95 corridor with access to about 47% of the U.S. Population. But also when you start looking at the growth of our cluster and the excitement just within the last 5 years, some of these other areas have been doing it for decades, and so you see growth like in North Carolina or up in Maryland, but just to see how quickly we've been able to move towards growing out this ecosystem, I think makes it a very unique opportunity for companies that want to consider an area like ours.
Okay, I want to get to this question. Are the pharma business opportunities expecting most services to be on-site or some rendered remotely? That's in the chat. Are the pharma business opportunities expecting most services to be on-site or some rendered remotely?
I think, Tom, you had kind of answered this on the chat, so if you want to take a stab at it first. Then.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Petersburg area is going to primarily be your manufacturing or the supply chain, that really feeds into that. So it's going to be in person, it's going to be on-site type of work here. I mean, we're working towards more of that scientific role or that PhD with the collaboration between Virginia State and Virginia Commonwealth University. And so we're seeing more of the white collar jobs increase, but at this point it's on-site and it's manufacturing that's primarily going on in my region.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it really is dependent on kind of what the client or the company's needs are. But when you're talking about, manufacturing, a lot of that is going to be on-site kind of work. But it depends if there's, our research and development opportunities, which might have a little bit more of a remote capability to them, then obviously you will see some of that work being a little bit more virtual based. But overall, I think industry-wide trend is that it's an on-site operation.
Okay, the next question, and I know that we are getting close to time, so I understand if you need to go, Jose, Tom's got it. Okay, the next question, is there a need for transportation and logistics services? And then that same person, Mr. Gordon, has asked, if you have a cold storage in a different state, would there still be an opportunity for them?
Jose and I could probably say it together. It's an absolute yes.
Yes, bring it on.
I can see it, being in both, Greater Richmond, the city of Petersburg. I mean, cold storage is one of the biggest needs across the country. And so, if you talk to our partners at the Port of Virginia, they're going to say, listen, just build it, just get it up, because there's such a high demand that they see as there. But certainly when it comes to transportation and logistics, the fact that we're making things, we've got to move things as well. So primarily that movement is going to happen, on containers, through trucks, possibly through the port. But being that we're just off of 95, it's going to be primarily moving that, storing that, whether that's cold storage or whether that's just in warehousing. We want it to be right here locally and not in the Research Triangle, not in Maryland. We want it right here in Virginia to continue to grow out that supply chain and that ecosystem.
Very good.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jose, you wanted to?
No, I was just going to, dovetail on what Tom had said. The fact that we are a strategic location for, transportation and logistics, obviously no one's going to take that away from us, right? About, we can get to about 45% of the U.S. population within 1 day's drive. So obviously that really represents a large, significant population. So we're going to see that. But to Tom's point is that we want to see more of this cluster development around the manufacturing component, not just so much of the distribution side.
Okay, thank you so much. I do want to let the participants know that there is going to be a survey that's going to pop up very shortly. It's a very short survey. So if you can take some time to complete those questions, as I said, very short. So while that's popping up, there's another question. Is there a need for on-site and on-demand DOT and non-DOT drug testing? How can we find out which companies need support? And that's in the chat from Patrice Waters. Is there a need for on-site and on-demand DOT and non-DOT drug testing? And how can we find out which companies need support?
I don't know that I have an answer to that, Jose. I'm not sure if you would, but we could certainly, Vanessa, that might be something that goes in our parking lot, and something that we can punt to some other group to help us find an answer.
And that's fine, because when we review all the chats, thank you. So when we review the chat, if there are any questions that pop up during the next few minutes that we don't get to, we will get to them. I also want to remind those, and we have maybe 1 or 2 return participants, and we thank you because that means that you are interested in what we're doing here. We will have another, or the third part of our series in January 14th, and that will be a series on workforce development. And then after that, we will have educational opportunities or pathways. We will have a supply chain and entrepreneurship webinar, cybersecurity, and then we will feature, I think our last webinar will be featuring Dr. Frank Gupton with Medicines for All. So we are so happy that everyone was able to tune in for this segment just before the Christmas holiday. And we look forward to many of you, and share this information, tell everybody about it. We have one more question. Is there a need for professional services, human capital, or workforce development? And I think Edna Howard, I just mentioned we are going to have a workforce development webinar in January. I think that's January 14th. But Tom or Jose, if you want to add something to that answer.
Sure. I would just say yes. Again, it depends on the client's needs and the company's needs, but professional services kind of go across the board and are not specific to one industry or the other. So it's just really a matter of what does the company require for their operations. But as you had mentioned, there will be a workforce development webinar kind of coming in the new year. But we work with multiple different partners within the region itself to kind of construct and create these educational programming that will help feed into the client's needs.
Yeah, I agree with that. To see what's happening at groups like CCAM. We just hired on someone to help with the workforce component. So there's just a lot of effort that's going into this. We can feel it in the air, can't we, Jose? I mean, this thing is ready to break open. Here we've been making site consultants and companies and anybody who will listen about what's going on here. So we're just seeing a lot of energy, and we're going to have a workforce ready to go. And so I'm excited about the January webinar to definitely learn more, but it's really that end-to-end solution when it comes to workforce development, from frontline manufacturing all the way up to the PhD level and our R&D labs that are that we see growing in the greater region. So very, very excited about what's happening.
Well, we're excited about what the EDOs are doing to promote this region. So thank you, Tom and Jose, for participating live with us today. I think we're about to wrap up. If you still have to complete that survey, you've got about a minute. Thank you all so much. Excellent information. And I just want to say this concludes our webinar for today. And you can stay in touch. Thank you so much. Excellent information. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you tuning in and looking forward to you coming back in January 14th. So with that, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.